It will be another cold night here in West Michigan, and again, that has some farmers worried about their crops.
Yeah, George out on the weather deck now. George, is this going to be cold all over the place? Some places going to be worse than others?
Well, as always the case, local climate will rule, and yes, there'll be some colder spots, but most areas will be below freezing here tonight, so that has the growers concerned once again. But I think this may be the last night of frost and freezing temperatures, it looks like, for the foreseeable future. 13 weather ball tonight is red, and that means milder weather ahead after a very frosty morning. And this view brought to you by Countryside Greenhouse of Allendale. Will be sunny most of the evening until the sun goes down there at about 8:51. We'll quickly drop into the 40s and eventually into the low 30s. Now, we may be a degree or two warmer than we were this morning, depending on what kind of high clouds come on in later on this evening. Tulip time going strong along the lakeshore. You could expect mostly cloudy conditions because of some high clouds coming in. You'll be around 60. The winds will be a lot lighter than they were over the weekend. They were very strong. You still need a light jacket as you head over there this week. And speaking of Windmill Island, here's the Island Gardens. The camera is operated by the public, so it does shift around a little bit, but you can see off in the distance in the sky some high clouds, and those high clouds may overspread the region a little bit here later on tonight. Current temperature, though, 48 degrees. You'll need your jacket over there this evening. Daylight satellite is showing mainly clear skies, hardly a cloud in the sky, although if you look on the far western horizon, you can see some of those high clouds, and there are some starting to come down over western Lake Superior, the western UP, and there are even a few more over here in Wisconsin. That may just take the edge off some of the overnight low temperatures, maybe a degree or two warmer than last night. Just all depends on how that cloud cover hangs on or comes on in. Otherwise, we have freeze warnings over much of lower Michigan except the southern tier of counties. And again, this may be the last night for freeze warnings this season. Nonetheless, it's been very cold. It's all because there's a big ridge of high pressure sitting way out in the North Atlantic, Iceland and Greenland. It's pretty much stopped all the systems from moving. So we've got this persistent low pressure system that hung around all weekend. It kept us very windy, kept us kind of breezy today. It's also continued to bring down 2, 3, 4 days worth of cold air, and that's why we have seen these cold temperatures so far. But it looks like that ridge of high pressure is going to break down later on next week, and eventually we're going to start to warm up at least a little bit. So I think the threat of freezing temperatures are going to be over by later on tonight. But we may get down to 32 here in Grand Rapids. As Elena showed you, we got down to 31. But tomorrow night, we're going to get down only into the low 40s, and we'll stay in the 40s for overnight lows the rest of the week. But there's also a chance of some rain later on Wednesday into very early on Thursday. We'll talk about that in a moment. Again, the freeze warning in effect for the lakeshore areas. You can see the temperatures down into the mid and upper 20s on the northern lakeshore, upper 20s down in the south lakeshore, and maybe only 32 there in Muskegon. It all depends on the high clouds as well. Up north, some of the coldest temperatures again between about 23 and 27, very light north wind, and from Grand Rapids southward at or below freezing in most areas with a light and variable wind. Ideal conditions to bring on those freezing temperatures. As I mentioned, there's a chance of some showers Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday night. Should be over by Thursday. We'll climb back up into the 60s starting tomorrow. That should last through Friday. I'm not real happy with how the weather is shaping up toward the end of the weekend. There's going to be some afternoon showers, as we talked about last week, for Friday afternoon, and we did say there'll be a few showers around on Saturday, but there may be more than a few showers. In fact, if we see some showers, it may only be in the 50s most of the day, and probably 50 along the lakeshore. 13 on target forecast. Mother's Day is still looking good, up into the mid-60s. In fact, a little change in the weather pattern as we talked about, that high breaking down over the North Atlantic. Maybe upper 60s by next Thursday, but then we cool off again to around 60 the following Wednesday and Thursday. So again, a tough night with cold temperatures once again across the region.
Thank you, George.